Mary Gordon has an international reputation as a leading educator, social entrepreneur, child advocate, and parenting expert. She's consulted with or presented at the United Nations, the WHO, UNICEF, and other leading organizations. She's been honored with the Governor General's Award for Innovation, and she is a recipient of the Order of Canada. It was over 25 years ago that Mary Gordon created powerful programs for children based on empathy. And she used no less than the best teachers in the world, babies, as a way to nurture empathy, kindness, and caring in children. This is how you change the world. Please welcome the founder and president of Roots of Empathy, Mary Gordon.
Well, thank you, Mary, so much, and thank you, everybody, for being here and for all of those who are joining us virtually and for our amazing speakers. I want to tell you about Paddy. Paddy is a 9-year-old boy living in Dublin, and a dozen years ago, I was invited to go to Paddy's classroom and to demonstrate what Roots of Empathy is like. Now, for those of you who know about Roots of Empathy, there's a 4-day training, there's a whole year workup to get it going, so I had 5 minutes. So anyhow, we borrowed a baby, and we had a room of skeptics who had come to observe what this might be like. No pressure at all. So I had a little doll that I had borrowed from one of the classrooms, and I had this real little baby. And I said to the children, what do you think is different about this little doll and this little baby? And the doll happened to be very brown. And of course, the first thing they said, well, the baby is whitish and the doll is brownish. I said, yes, that's right. What else do you notice? And the children talked about a number of differences. They thought they wagered that the baby would be heavier than the doll. They were all physical differences. And I said to them, I was pushing a little bit, and what else do you think might be different between this doll and the baby? And in the class, this school was the lowest performing school in Dublin that they could find. I said, please take me to the school with the biggest problems. And in the school was Paddy in the classroom, and Paddy started to engage with me. Paddy was a little boy who was in care because the violence in his home made it such that for his protection he had been removed as a little fellow. And Paddy was a pyromaniac, and he was in and out of protective custody. He was only 9, because every time he went into a home, he burnt down he would start with the drapes, and because they burnt quickly, and he'd burn them down. So Paddy said, well, miss, I think if you dropped the doll wouldn't cry. If you dropped the baby would cry. And we got talking about that. And why would the baby cry? Because the baby would feel pain. What kinds of different ways are there to feel pain apart from your body hurting? And somebody said, your heart can hurt. And Paddy said, the difference is the baby's a human being. And there it is, right then and there. What does it mean to be human? It means to feel. And when we can feel, we can meet one another. And as we've heard from other speakers, the importance of being understood. Well, we all ache to be understood, really. And little Paddy, he wore his pain in his behavior. He had no sustainable relationships. His life was really in turmoil all the time. But because of Paddy, all of the people who had come to see what this strange program was about decided that they wanted to try it. And there was someone visiting from Northern Ireland. And there was a great hour-long discussion afterwards. And they all worried about the generational sectarian violence, which nothing really had nothing really had made it go away. And I think we deal with conflict, we worry about the climate, and we worry about poverty. But there are things that we can do if we start with the children. The children have the possibility, I mean, they are 100% of our future. You know, the little ones who sit in the desks at Roots of Empathy, they're the citizens of today, the leaders of tomorrow, and the parents of tomorrow. And if we want to break the cycles that we are experiencing now, we must help those children develop empathy. You can't order it up. I'll have a dozen could go. Empathy develops in relationship. It's by seeing it happen. And if you don't land lucky and develop empathy in your family of birth, in the relationships of love and care and tenderness, in those first couple of years of life, birth should not be destiny. So Roots of Empathy helps every child have that experience of all year long watching a tiny baby develop in the first year of life, understanding what it is to be human from the baby, because the baby is 100% vulnerable. The baby is the essence of humanity, because the baby is completely about feelings. The baby can't sort out their feelings, but the children learn to identify how the baby is feeling, which opens up the discussion on how are you feeling. And we live in an emotionally illiterate world where we can send people to the moon and back, but we can't really reach the fathoms of our own hearts. We cannot find ways to connect the words and the feelings with one another. And that is, I think, our challenge going ahead. We have, you know, the whole idea of all the chat GPT, which is the latest conversations going on in school. That's really about what are our morals and ethics. When we see one another, we feel we owe one another a certain amount of respect. And we know that we hurt your feelings when we see you. But since 2000 and the online world we've been living in, there's been a 40% drop in empathy since the 70s. And that's measured by Dr. Sarah Conrath out of the University of Michigan, looking at university students. So if we lost 40% empathy, can you imagine where we're going now after that time? So I think there's an incredible opportunity to move from coding to caring. What do we pay attention to? What is important? We have to get STEM going. We have to make sure every little girl can code. What about every little person can care? And empathy, the ultimate human trait, is really at the base of caring. So this caring world that we're talking about, it's helpful to remember the Paddies and to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, because in our vulnerability we find one another. If you can make yourself vulnerable, you can connect one to the other. And childhood is the time to do it. It's the springtime of humanity, childhood. It's not a holding tank. Oftentimes it seems like childhood is a holding tank until something more important comes along. There's no unimportant moment in childhood. Children don't need to be instructed. They are constructing meaning. Babies are the ultimate meaning makers. We all ache to belong and we ache to understand. It's a universal thing. So I think that if we think of childhood as a gateway to tomorrow, it will help us understand that the investments that we make now in prevention and in love and in caring, in noticing one another, it will be huge. And I think we are all experiencing a collective trauma. And we had some discussion about the impact of the pandemic on children in schools. Well, we know that everybody's mental health has taken a hit. But children are far more vulnerable. And if you were already vulnerable before the pandemic, I promise you the children are even more vulnerable now. So I think we need to be really sure that we set a place at the table for everybody. It's fine to talk about equity, diversity and inclusion, but what do we do about it? And I think the discussion should be these days about ethics, that just because you can't see who you're talking to, that we have to make sure with this chat GPT that the standards of humanity that we hold for one another, we must find ways to develop that children understand that just because a bot can lie and cheat and steal doesn't mean you can. And schools are worried about children cheating. We have a lot more to worry about than children cheating. We have to worry about what is the world we are offering them. And I think leadership is really one of the key things we need to be thinking about. What are we giving our children in terms of leadership? And I think empathy is the key, the very key piece of ethical leadership. But let me just close with a quote from Sitting Bull. This is Indigenous Month, and Sitting Bull was an Indigenous leader. He said, "Let's put our minds together to see what life we can make for the children." And that was a very long wish, a long time ago, and it's a timeless wish.
Thank you so much. Thanks to Mary, who gives her heart and soul to help make the lives of children better. Well, we would love for you here and also online to support us and donate. No mystery about that. We need funds, no surprise, to keep our programs going and to grow and develop. I know there are many, many good causes in the world, but I'm just going to leave you with a couple of thoughts. It's not impossible to change behavior when you're older, but those first years of life, they're paramount in shaping your identity and setting the future stage. The second point is how vital the role of empathy is in our humanity and our relationship with others. That is what it means to be human.